precious, and oh, precious is the flow that makes me white as snow. No other fount I know. I am washed, I am washed, I am drenched in love.
Come on, why don't you greet somebody before you have a seat? Love on somebody, we'll get started tonight. Told Marion I was trying to hit some high notes there in that song, and then my voice crashed off the edge of a cliff. It was terrible. She just laughs at me. Yeah. No, we don't need it. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out tonight on this wintry night. Appreciate your interest and appreciate you coming out to hear about what God's put in our heart for 2019, and also just to pause and celebrate 2018. And on your way in, I hope that everybody get one of these. I want to kind of walk through that with you. Everybody get one on the way in. If you didn't, lift your hand up. We want to make sure our ushers get that to you. Greg, can you help me out? Also, we had an I-54 card, which I'll explain in a little bit about what that's all about, and make sure you had one of those just to check that out. What I thought we'd do tonight is, first of all, just give God some praise and thanksgiving as we reflect on this year. It's been a great year. And for those of you that are still waiting for breakthrough, I want to encourage you to keep fighting. 2019 is going to be a great year. God is faithful, and we've seen Him do so much. Some of you, how many of you came to Living Stones in 2018, brand new? You visited us, and now you're part of our family. Look at that. That's awesome. Welcome. We're glad you guys are here. And amen. Give them a hand. Awesome. And I just want to walk through this together with you, not because you can't read, but just to highlight a few things together and to pause and to celebrate. We tried to give a big overview. I wanted to make it simple, one page, front and back overview, because we could spend all night going into the woods and the details about what God's been doing in various ministries. But it's good to start with just the fact that we're growing. And that's a good sign. How many of you know healthy things grow? And we've been growing. And many of you are proof of that. We had about a 9% growth this year. And people ask, well, how many folks come to Living Stones? I don't look at how many names are on our rolls. I look at how many folks are actually showing up every week. And we're up about 9% from last year. In fact, this number is low because we're actually creeping up now towards about 5.25, 5.50 on a good Sunday. And so we're really in a good growth season right now. New faces, new families every week. I know some of you are greeting and ushering and all that, and you're seeing new faces every week. We have visitors that come that maybe were at Living Stones years ago, and when they come in, they're like, man, who are all these new people? Because there's lots of new faces. I mean, that's just a great thing. And that's why we're here, to touch more and more people, and we're grateful for that. We had 34 folks baptized this year, which was awesome. Not all of those were new believers, but many of them are young believers in the Lord. That was exciting to see. How many of you went to an encounter this year? Had some amazing time at the encounters. Amen. We got more encounters coming this next year, but last year, take a look at that. We had over, 72 men, 76 ladies that went. Awesome. So we've got a women's encounter and a men's encounter coming up this spring, and then we've got a ladies' encounter coming up in the fall, and our big band of brothers this year, which is going to be great. In fact, let me throw this out to all the men. My vision for Living Stones this year, guys, this fall, band of brothers, 100 men from Living Stones filling up the sanctuary, right? 100 of us guys. That's my vision that God dropped in my spirit. So get that date on your calendar. Also, with the encounters coming up, get those dates on your calendar. They were in the bulletin this morning. Yeah, the Band of Brothers right here. We're hosting it this year. So all you got to do is, I think there's one day. It'd be nice if you can put in to get one day off. And that's that Thursday of the Band of Brothers, and come and just take part in the whole thing. It's going to be powerful. We should pack the place out this year, and I can't tell you how excited all the guys are in our network to come and be a part of what God's doing here. So I get everywhere I go, when I run into men that have been to the Band of Brothers here, that's the first thing that comes off their lips, and it's just, I'm kind of shocked by it all, actually, but it's wonderful. It's a testimony of our people, testimony of the great service that we have in the house, and they always talk about it, so I've got to pass that on to you guys. Life groups, I want to thank Andrew and his team for all that they're doing, all the life group leaders in this place. It's pretty amazing. We have 200 folks right now every week that are plugged into a life group. Obviously, we want to see that number grow because we believe life groups are such an important part of loving on people and pastoring people. And I know Pastor Andrew was just talking last week with all of our life group leaders and really just driving home the point. You all are pastors. That's what you do. You pastor people. And it just raises the bar in our minds to realize we need a lot more pastors of people. And I want to encourage some of you, if you got a great heart of hospitality and you love people, why not this year consider going through an apprenticeship with one of the life groups and then opening up your own life group this year and just opening your home to love on some people. That goes from a lot of our teenagers that are here all the way up through the adults that are here. It's a great way just to open your heart and love folks. So encourage you to think about that. This next point is pretty awesome too. We've got 200 people every single week that are serving in some capacity at Living Stones. That really gets me fired up. That means, part of our vision was once you become a member of our family that you find a way where you can get plugged in. And the good news is that's exactly what's happening. We want to see everybody using their gifts. In fact, I want to encourage you this year. We're going to be in a series, probably mid-year, on spiritual gifts, discovering how God's wired you, and then beginning to release that. Because how many of you know it really gets fun when you start using the stuff God's put in you to bless other people, and not just sitting on the sidelines, so to speak, but getting in the game and loving people and really being who God's called you to be. Each week, marriage class, 40 to 50 folks coming out every single Sunday to receive practical encouragement and help and strength in their marriage, and many of you are the fruits of all that. We have some new things we're going to do this year. There's lots of, when you say marriage, there's lots of different seasons people are in. There's lots of different situations people are in. For years, we did not have a premarital focus. We do now, and that's been amazing. But we're also looking at this year, perhaps expanding the breadth of what we do in marriages to help people in various stages or seasons of their marital existence, all right? Helping rebuild, helping strengthen. So check that out. We'll be announcing that as we get going down the road here. But I sure appreciate our marriage ministry and everybody that's involved there. This was exciting. We launched our Cambodia Living Stones Church in October of this year. They are doing great. God's blessing there. You saw the video a few weeks back of, I think, the first 12 baptisms that they did. So God's moving there in the church. We're seeing great fruit. In fact, Brett and Jocelyn, some of you, I think Dan Junkie and Melissa Junkie just got back, and hands-on visit. Everybody's doing great. They're thriving there, so that's exciting. This was pretty cool, too. We had our big dedication and cookout on June the 10th, and that's when we officially dedicated the facility. It seems, in my mind, like that was forever ago, but it wasn't that far ago that we just officially, got everything done and got the final touches. And so it's been, hey, have we enjoyed the facility or what? All right, are you enjoying it? And I was just walking Gary through it this morning, and he was taking pictures of the nursery area and the children's area, and just so, excited about what's happened, and taking pictures. He goes, I'm telling our congregation back home, we need a commons area. There's so much great ministry that happens when you have a big commons area, and he was taking pictures of everything. So I think we inspired him to go home, and maybe he'll have me come in and help cast some vision for their building program. I don't know. Check out Celebrate Recovery. What a wonderful ministry every Thursday night. And you can see 24 leaders, about 40 to 50 people every week. 4th of July parade, the Celebrate Recovery team was leading in that, passing out 2,000 bags of information about Living Stones and Celebrate Recovery Ministry. We did a veterans breakfast this year with 22 veterans that came out, which was really great. And then they did some wonderful partnering with the Angel Tree Ministry for Christmas gifts for kids. And you can see there was a veterans village that we partnered with this year for gifts for the homeless veterans that were being taken care of. So Celebrate Recovery is doing just a great job. I want to thank everybody that's been a part of that, continues to support that ministry, Greg and Debbie and the leadership team. We can go ahead and let out some cheers for all these folks. Amen. Amen. And a lot of our new families are here because of the great job that our children's ministry and our youth ministry are doing. And I want to talk a little bit about them next. Our youth ministry with Pastor Aaron and Lauren and team are doing a bang-up job. You can see some of the numbers there. Every week, about 70 young people on average are coming out, which is exciting. And on Mondays, that's Tuesday night. On Monday night is the small groups. And on Monday nights, we have about 50 of the 70 that are coming out. So that's really, really exciting. Our young people are getting connected, growing, great friendships, being challenged and mentored, and what a blessing. You can see some of the other things. Got about 10 youth leaders, 13 folks received the Lord this year, 11 youth baptisms, and there's a bunch of great stuff, obviously, that's coming down the pipe this year for youth ministry. Some regular highlights like Color Wars, a youth encounter coming up, and I just want to thank again Pastor Aaron and Lauren and the team. Can we give them a hand for the great job you guys are doing with our kids? I shared this morning, and next Sunday we're going to highlight our ProLife Ministry in-house. But again, we are a leader in the community. So appreciate all the folks that are a part of that ministry. I want to thank Lynn for leading our in-house ministry, Lynn Scherschel, and all the folks that have their sleeves rolled up and really loving ladies, loving babies, loving men involved, and just really working for a life-giving culture. So thank you guys for what you guys do every week. Don't forget those diapers and wet wipes for next Sunday. Flip the page, the top left corner. Children's Ministries enjoying a newly remodeled facility with fun and colorful wall murals specifically designed by a professional illustrator. I want you guys to be reminded that what you see in that whole youth wing and children's wing is one of a kind. You can't find it anywhere in the world. It was created for us, and when the kids go in there and see that, it's a lot of fun for them. Tracy's doing a magnificent job. Appreciate you, Tracy, and what God's doing through our kids. And our teachers. You notice that is a heavy ministry for needing great people to love on our children. And we've got about 45 leaders that rotate in and out, serving our children and teaching our kids. About 100 kids every week. And Tracy tells me that's growing, which is exciting. Which is also why we're going to share a little bit of vision tonight, because as our children's ministry starts getting fuller and fuller, those are good problems to have. And so we'll talk about that in just a moment. But Tracy's got some great vision this year. Of course, we're going to be hosting Spring Hill Camp for a week of children's ministry and a camp here on site, which was a big hit last time we did it. We're going to do it again this year. And she's got some exciting rewards for kids that are really engaged in the Bible memorization and the program, taking them off to the Ark this year. Some of you have been to the big Ark down there by Cincinnati, and they're going to be doing an overnighter there. So all of you that have kids involved in the children's ministry, that's just a couple of the highlights that are taking place this year. So that's very cool. Check out the 2,000 there. Our podcast have had 2,000 downplays, which isn't a huge amount, but I want you to notice those were heard in 23 nations of the world. Now that's pretty wild. When Colin showed me the data on that, and I was looking at all the different countries that have listened to some of the stuff coming out of Living Stones, it kind of gives you a feel again of how our video stuff and our media can take feet and run to the nations of the world, and who knows who's listening. But we're really going to be working this year on, of course, we added live stream this year. I was talking to some of you that have enjoyed that while you're out and about, or if you're traveling or with family or on vacation. While you're driving, you have the live stream going in the car and able to enjoy it. The next thing we want to do is, when you do live stream, if you'll notice, we never play our worship on live stream, because it's not that our worship team is terrible, but it sounds terrible if you don't remix it for the live stream. It takes a whole separate process. And so we're in the process of getting people in place that can do that, so we can remix our worship set so we can show the whole service online. But it is a one more step process there, just so you all know. Some of you go, man, how come we don't get to hear the worship or testimonies or this or that? There's a reason why. If you heard our worship team without mixing it for that format, you would never want to listen to our worship team again. You would be going, that church has the most dreadful worship. And of course, we know that's not true. We have wonderful worship here, but it just doesn't sound like it. All right. So those are some of the things we're looking at doing. It's just upping our social media and our media in general. So you can, if that's a passion of your heart, let us know, because we have work for you. We need help in that area. Our intercessory prayer team, led by Chris Krause, is an amazing group of folks that really do fight for us and war for us. And I'll just say this. I'm convinced that the health that we're seeing, the fruit that we're seeing, the growth that we're seeing is due in large part to the fact that we've got a lot of people on their knees and on their faces before God every week, praying like crazy for God's blessing and for God's presence. And so, Chris, thank you for all that you do. Can we thank Chris and team? Appreciate you. Another cool thing, we launched our Living Stones Home Educators this year with, I believe, 24 students. I had the privilege this past week of doing chapel for them. And man, those guys are a sharp bunch, all right? They are warm, friendly, asking questions, engaged, full of life. And the team that's leading all of them are doing a great job. And so I want to thank Angie and Shade, and if I know I'm forgetting people, but everybody that's involved. Marquita, Walton, and I know there's more, but that's a growing bunch, and you guys are doing a great job. Let me talk a little bit about the Roar. Lots happening. 10 Roar schools currently going in the nations. 6 new Roar schools in 2018 alone. That's awesome. 65 graduates this year. And how many of you know the more schools, the more that grows exponentially, which is really, really exciting. So we had 65 graduates. 16 Living Stones missionaries on the field, which for a local church our size, that is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it's one of our uniquenesses here. Of course, isn't it fitting that our missions pastors could not be at this meeting tonight because they're actually doing missions? I hate it when that happens. They're in Zambia, but they send their love, as you all know. And look at 2019. We're looking to launch 6 more schools, at least. 3 in Vietnam, Zambia getting launched as we speak, Pakistan, Lord only knows what's going to happen in Pakistan. And of course we have our U.S. school that right now is in hibernation, but can be resurrected at any moment when the demand is there. So that's just a quick highlight. And I need to stop here too and also say, like our worship team is like a Visa card. It's with you everywhere, right? Our worship team is everywhere. It's not like its own separate ministry on one regard, because worship is a part of what we do everywhere. But how many of you appreciate, again, our great worship ministry and all that they do in all of our gatherings? We appreciate them. Amen. Let me give you a quick snapshot on the 2018 finances. Somebody already wisely pointed out, if you look at our total tithes and offerings for this last year, it was about $1.3 million. And then if you look down, it says 217 pins. A pin is a personal identification number. When you give at Living Stones, you're assigned a pin number, and that pin number just helps keep track of your faithfulness in giving. There were 439 pin numbers, which if you look at the fine print there, that was 13% increase. So we're seeing more people joining our family, more people giving. I mean, that's great. That's a good increase right there. But you'll notice the disparity between 1.7 million and 1.3 million. I was chatting with our finance department to make sure that was not a mistake, and of course it was, and I just needed an explanation. The difference there is the I-54 giving. If you subtract that was the money that was given on top of tithes and offerings for our I-54 building campaign. So that explains why it says 1.3 and 1.7 down below. But notice this is what I wanted y'all to see. 217 out of the 439 were responsible for $1.7 million, roughly. And then you had 117 responsible for the 43,000, and then 105 that over the year gave 4,120. My point this morning was simply this. We have an incredibly faithful core here. The church in America, the tithing numbers are absolutely pathetic. It's under 10% of people that attend church on Sunday, which means most people are just dropping a $10 bill, $20 bill, and that's their giving to their local church. And I just want to drive this point home. I mean, if you were, I look at Dave Walton over there, owns his own business. Dave, if you were looking to start a business, you could not start a business if you didn't have capital to start that business. You can have the greatest vision in the world. If you don't have capital, you can't do anything. And it's the same thing without being super spiritual, right, in churches. It's the same thing with the body of Christ. We can't do anything if we don't have resources. And The resources are simply people that say, I'm going to be faithful to God. I'm going to be faithful to His Word. And I remind you guys this all the time. The one area in the Bible where God says, test me, is with money. Isn't that interesting? Probably because He knows that's an area that we struggle with having faith for, because we live in a real world with real financial issues. And I get it. I'm there. But I really want to encourage you all this year, if you're part of that other 50%, just consider stepping out in faith and obeying God and honoring God, and I'm just telling you, watch what He wants to do in your life. Because what would happen if we would get the other 50% moving up in addition to the strong core that we already have? I think it could be amazing what God could accomplish in this place. So that's just a nice little pastoral encouragement. But really, what I'm really saying is, great job, everybody, because we, again, have an incredibly tight, generous group of people here that are very, very faithful, and I can't thank you enough. So thank you guys for your faithfulness there. Take a look at the 2018 kind of recap. Our payroll is at about 42%, which, let me just tell you, across the board is a very good number. Some churches, let me just say, all the way back to our I-54, the bank we worked with was so pleased with how frugal we are around here. What they find in many places is the payroll is way too high, and then the ministry can't do anything because all their money is going to payroll. That payroll reflects about 17 of us on staff, and some full-time, some part-time. But that is a really good number. Most numbers are at 50%, some even higher than that. So I'm happy with that. You can see some of the interest. We don't have a mortgage payment, if you'll notice on that. That's because our mortgage payment has become our interest payment on the loan. We have until March of 2020 to pay down the I-54 pledge, all right, and to pay that amount down. And then in April of 2020 is when that will all roll over into a mortgage, and we will have a mortgage payment. So you all know how that works. The more we pay up front, the lower our mortgage payment. So we're putting everything we can right now to getting as much of that paid off, so that when we actually lock in on that note, we're going to be in a situation where that's not going to hamstring us. And let me just tell you, before we even got into this, that was my biggest concern, because I remember years, and it's good to remember, I remember years when we had this meeting and we were trying to make something look good when nothing was looking good. That is one of the worst meetings to have. And I'm not talking about spin. I'm just saying, obviously good stuff happens. People's lives get touched. But we've been in situations before when our church finances and the health of our church was not as strong. And let me just tell you, I never, ever want to be in that situation ever again. How many of you in your personal finances have gone through tough times where maybe you're hoping that there's enough money to pay for all the bills, and maybe you're living over your head, or your house payment's too much and you need to shrink things down, and the pressure and the stress of that sucks all the life out of you if you're not careful. We have to live within a manageable budget. So I just want you to know, having walked through that, to where we went through seasons where we're counting money on Monday to see if we're going to have payroll, if we're going to be able to keep the lights on, if we're going to be able to pay the mortgage, and let me just say, by the grace of God, we have always done that. God's been faithful. And we've never, I say this again, this is our testimony, never been late one time on any bill in this house with our bank or anybody else, all right? So this place and our team does an amazing job operating with wonderful integrity. But I'm just telling you, we didn't go into this expansion with the, even the possibility that at the end of this, we were going to have a noose around our neck financially that was unbearable. So I just want you to know our leadership team is committed to making sure that doesn't happen. But how about this? Why don't we believe that we can pay down most of that, all of that, wouldn't that be great, to where we have no mortgage, or we have a mortgage payment that's very small compared to what we're doing here, and that just frees up more resources to do what God's called us to do. So that's the vision I want to share with you. Let me also just mention where it says benevolence, the way that, because I was talking to Dick and Ed this week, I said, wait a minute, it says missions 1%, and then benevolence 12%. The way that that's accounted for is our missions money and outreach money, 10% every week on our offerings, 10% gets scraped right off the top. So actually we're giving more like 12% towards missions and outreach, and it's under benevolence. That's also included in helping people, all right, in the community, helping you all. So it's all kind of on one heading there, and things get broken down inside there. But I just want you to know that a minimum of 10% every week goes right off the top to reach lost people, plant roar schools, do the things that we do in the nations of the world, just so you know that's going out there. The rest of these details, as far as specific, the difference between, utilities, operations, maintenance, I'm going to save for questions at the very end, and I've got my good friend here and our financial guy, Ed, who can explain the nuances of any questions that you have, because part of why we're here tonight is to answer any questions that you might have. This represents, too, it's interesting. This is where numbers get to be a little foggy. At the end of last year, we had a significant gift toward the ministry. And that doesn't happen every year, but when it does happen, I'm always grateful. We had one of those last year, significant gift, which inflated our offering totals as far as averages, all right? So it made it look like this year that we barely had any increases. We actually, if you take out that large gift, we're actually at about a 6 to 7% increase this year in our giving and tithes and offerings, although it gets lost in that large gift when that's all figured in. So my point is, everything's growing. Our church family's growing. Our resources have been growing. Our number of givers is growing. The people engaged are growing. People in life groups are growing. Children's ministry is growing. Across the board, things are growing. And I just want to say this too. We added a couple things this year that have been phenomenal. We added a parenting class on Tuesday night. Some of you have gone through that. That's another area where we just want to keep equipping people. I want to thank Brent and Jocelyn for doing that. I've heard great things about that. Go ahead and give them a round of applause. And Beth and Denise and the team that's doing the class on healing the heart, healing soul wounds. That class is changing people's lives. The material's changing people's lives. And even there, I just want to share with you, that's an area where Living Stones, it's been part of our DNA from day one in terms of healing broken people. That's who God brings to our house, is broken people. But we want to start growing deeper. We want to start addressing more of those needs. We do the encounters. Those are powerful. But we also want to help people untangle some of the details of their lives and the hurts. And I'll just say this isn't happening at a lot of places. A lot of churches don't even value that or believe it's necessary. As soon as you're saved, everything's good. You just keep moving on. But how many of you know that's not the way it works in real life? And we need to get our hearts healed. And so I just want to say, we're launching it. We launched it last year, and we launched our second round. But I see that, expanding in 2019 and providing more and more help and healing for people across the board. So anyway, those are just, and the list, amen. The list goes on and on. So here's what I want to do. I want you to hold this, and we're going to come back to this. But I want to do a quick overview of this year regarding I-54. So, Joel, if you can go to the slides and help me out here. Anybody remember that? Here's the presenting problem, and I love this. Children have a way of capturing things so simply. That was a drawing that one of our children's ministry folks did. Our little kids. That's Living Stones Church. And when I saw that, I'm like, that is exactly Living Stones Church. If you remember pulling up on our south side, that's what you ran into. Door 1, door 2, door 3, and door 4. Where do we go? Nobody knows. You just have to figure it out. So we got into this situation realizing we have to address that problem because nobody knows how to get in our building, all right, and where they go. Go ahead to the next one there. So we had our vision gathering. This was in January of 2017, all right? We started casting vision. Go ahead to the next slide. We had our Vision Sunday, which we actually laid out the plans. We showed the video. Y'all remember the video that we showed? I loved it because there was a collective gasp that happened when we superimposed the front of our building on top of the brick and saw all the glass and everything. And it was just like, yeah, all the air got sucked out of the room. I remember that. It was a great Sunday. So anyway, that was the artistic rendering. And isn't it amazing when it actually starts to look like that? We showed you some of the plans, what we wanted to do in our fellowship hall there with the chairs and the platform that was added. Of course, the giant spine that we added, which was called the foyer. And then once we started getting into this, we realized, my goodness, if we want to secure our children's area and do a better job there, we're going to have to do a lot of renovating and a lot of changing. But we laid it all out for you, and I tried to communicate the rationale for why we needed to do what we needed to do. Remember, at the time we had three building expansion phases, but any of you that had children, remember that the nightmare of when your number popped up of your child, and pastor would be preaching, and all of a sudden you're over there and your number pops up, and the only way to get to your children was to walk through the sanctuary and come all the way over to these doors and then make your way back through the maze to find where the children's area was. I mean, it was a total nightmare. And so we realized, you know what, we've got to figure this building flow out. And that's really what happened when the architects sat down and started looking at our facility. They started reworking everything, and now we have a building that flows. We have secure areas. Hey, we even have an elevator. Come on, if some of you that have not yet taken the ride. I mean, and it's like a real elevator. You don't pull a rope or anything, you hit a button, it goes up, and it's like a real elevator. It's awesome. And I'm telling you, with all the years we did what we did with the second floor, I think it was especially brought home to me this last year with my father and my father-in-law, and some of the challenges they had trying to get up those stairs for any meetings, and some of you that have had the same challenges. So I just want to tell you, I'm so grateful that we're able to help some of our folks to experience a whole other part of our building that they never even knew existed because they couldn't navigate those stairs. So let's go ahead to the next slide. We had our Commitment Sunday, and this was exciting. Show the pictures on that. I don't know if you remember that, but wasn't that exciting? A lot of you weren't even here on that Sunday. That was the Sunday that we asked you, after we shared the vision, we said, will you pray and will you ask the Lord just what he wants you to do? And was I low-key or was I low-key? All right, I wasn't the manipulator, right? I didn't force anybody. I didn't have a gun to anybody's head, right? All we did was we said this: go seek the Lord, ask the Lord what you can do, and when he tells you, don't freak out. Because I guarantee you, it'll be bigger than what your initial thought was. Did I tell you that's what we did, right? And so we prayed. That particular Sunday was when everybody made their way up, dropped your pledge card in, and if you remember, we lifted up that bucket, and we all gathered around, and we just dedicated those pledges to the Lord, because we said, Lord, you're going to have to do this, right? And we dedicated this whole thing in prayer. Let's go ahead to the next one up there. We had our Celebration Sunday. The Celebration Sunday was when we actually wrote the first checks. It's one thing to fill out the pledge card. It's one thing to see the vision, but it's a whole other thing to write the first check. And that was our Celebration Sunday. You remember what happened afterwards? Go to the next slide. We all went outside. We launched our balloons in faith. Those balloons representing our released faith in the Lord, and that was a fun Sunday. In fact, that Sunday was real windy. I remember the balloons went up, and as soon as they got past the roof line, they made a quick beeline for Lake Michigan. All right, but anyway, that was a great Sunday. Go ahead to the next slide. Then we had our groundbreaking, which was really, really exciting. July of 2017. Next slide. There we are with the big power equipment out there. We had some fun that day. We broke ground. And show the next slide with okay, there we go. Demo. This is good. After breaking ground, we lost our trees, which broke my heart because I watched those trees grow up. Some of you remember the trees out front. That was our island. I remember a sense of mixed feelings when the tractor came and started ripping things up, but there was also a sense of excitement because we really were beginning the project, which was cool. Go ahead to the next slide there. That was an interesting side. Some of you remember, for the better part of that year, that's how we walked into church. It was a maze, and at one point we had most of our building destroyed. Remember that? We started off on the opposite side of the building and had to walk through the youth room and through the fellowship hall just to get to the sanctuary. But that was some of the pictures. Let's show some more pictures. It was amazing, the construction part of that. Putting in some footers. Wow, big difference. Keep rolling. Then the steel started coming up. The parking lot started being paved and reworked there in the front of our building. That was one I liked, going right through the wall of our existing children's ministry and seeing all those walls torn out because that whole section was completely redone. We had to put some new plumbing in, which I hated to see the mural go, but there went the mural. Next slide. They got really close to our front door. I remember that day filming all of this as they were picking away the vibrations on the door. When they drag across that concrete, we would feel it all through the building. All right, next one. Then as you can see, we started actually getting the outdoor there done, the overhang. Has that been a blessing or what? Being able to pull up, drop people off. What a blessing. Got some new sidewalks out front, new curbs and everything. That was awesome. Next slide there. That was a big difference, that whole look. Next slide. We had all that big foyer area that they worked on for a long, long time. Don't you love the little drop islands with the lights and everything out there? Makes such a beautiful, beautiful view when you pull up. Go ahead. Our new fellowship hall, new foyer, all the polishing going on out there. That was amazing. Go ahead. And somebody captured that shot of me and little Uriah. That shot's special to me because it really does capture why we did what we did. So the next generation can enjoy ministry out of this place. Then we had, of course, that's the gentleman there with Tracy who did all of our artwork. He also does the artwork when we give your kids a Bible. He's the illustrator for the children's Bible. So with the Bibles that we give out when we dedicate our children to the Lord, those are all things I think that he took part in. But isn't that mural? I mean, where do you find a mural of the Lake County Courthouse? And I don't know if you noticed the detail, but in that journey room there, one of the kids has a Crown Point T-shirt on, which is just very, very special. And I love the diversity of it because there's somebody on that wall that all of our kids can identify with, which is beautiful. All right, we'll go to the next one. Just quickly here, this was fun. We had our Good Friday prayer in March of 2018. Some of you remember that night. We went in there and we spent a couple hours just praying, writing scripture verses on the wall. How many of you were there for that night? That was fun, wasn't it? Yeah. And just again being there to dedicate that to the Lord. So appreciate everybody who took part in that. Next slide. Our dedication, which came in June of this year, and the picnic. That was a great, great day. Grateful for the great food we had as well. We had some ribbon cutting that took place. And some of you remember, that was my father was able to be there for the dedication. And I share with you that right after the dedication, the very first thing that we did as far as a full use of the facility was my dad's funeral. And I thought it was interesting how God providentially worked that out. And then just, talk about an open house. We had thousands of people come through our building that day to see what God has done and to honor my dad. But hey, that was one of the highlights right there. Was Kenny and Brian's cooking. Yeah, come on. And we are going to make a yearly event. Not that we're putting it on those guys' plate, no pun intended. But that food was amazing, and we had a great day of celebration. If you all recall that day too, that was the day that storm was supposed to come through, right? And I still got the picture because that storm split right in half, went right over Crown Point, and we had the most amazing food and fellowship that day. But anyway, man, did we put away the food and celebrate. Next slide. Take a look at this. We pledged for 3 years $1.7 million. What we received to this point is we're right about at the halfway point. So we're just a little bit underneath the 50%, which is where we should be, but we're a little bit low. Total pledged in 2018 would have been $617,000. That was the portion for this year. And you can see about $368,000 has come in, about 60%. Same thing, though, is what I want you to see. Out of 155 individual pledges, we have the same ratio going on. Just about half of the people have given 95%, while the remaining half have given about 5%. So it's the same ratio. So what I'm saying again is we have a very, very deeply committed group of folks here that are carrying the weight on our tithes and offerings. They're also the same people that are carrying the weight on the I-54 campaign. All I'm asking you at this point is out of 155 folks, I've gone through and I've checked where people are at. And here's what generally happens. Some of you, in fact, 59 families have already fulfilled their pledge. And I just say, praise God, thank you. But here's the scenario. Some of those were one-time gifts. And up front they said, hey, we're going to give a one-time gift. They gave the one-time gift and fulfilled the pledge, over and done. Others of you, though, you stepped out in faith. And you asked God to meet you, and guess what? We're a year and a half in, and God met you. So what I'm asking you tonight is, why don't you let God meet you again? Because we still have a year and a half to go, and God met you where your faith was at. So I'm encouraging you at this point, what do you want to do for the remainder? We had some families as well that made pledges and haven't given a thing. And I don't understand what that's all about, but sometimes it's financial hardship. Sometimes there's a variety of things. But all I'm saying is this is a really good time for all of us as a church family to say, okay, we have a year and a half to go. We have from now till March of 2020. Lord, what would you have me to do? And I want to say again, thank you, all the 59 of you that fulfilled your pledge. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But the rest of us, we're still in process. I know some of us are still giving monthly, and we have that spread out over 3 years. I just want to say again, keep doing that. I also want to say this. I thought it was very, very important as senior pastor and leading this effort that we have skin in the game and we lead by example. How many of you think that's good for leaders to lead by example? So, because I don't want to be standing up here talking to a bunch of people that I'm out of touch with and out of touch with your financial situations. I just want you guys to know, in our family in particular, we had a big step of faith, and we have had to believe God almost every week to come through for us, all right? So I'm just telling you, I get it. But guess what's happened? God's come through for us. And He's taught us a lot of things. He's taught us how not to get in anxiety or fear. He's taught us how to seek Him more. Guess what's happened to our prayer life? It's gotten better. It's amazing how God does it. So, and the other situation is we've got a lot of new families here. And all I'm asking our new families to do is say this. Hey, how about jumping in and helping us get to the finish line? For a lot of you, you came here and this is the only living stones that you've ever known. But it hasn't always been this way. We went through a lot of faith and a lot of hard work to get the facility in the condition that it's in. And let me just also mention, Ed, you can help me with this. In addition to everything that's been done in the I-54 part of it, there's been a whole lot of things done that just came out of the budget. I mean, we had to renovate. All the offices on that end of the building were completely destroyed. We had to completely renovate this whole side of the building. That just came out of tithes and offerings. We had to get air conditioning units. We put new gutters up. We fixed the drainage problem that we had on that side of the building that was retaining water. Insulation that was this part of the building in the winter was horrible. It was so cold. There was no insulation up above. We insulated the building. I just want to say too, between Carrie, Michael Cade, Jane, and the ongoing maintenance of this facility. How many know if you walk from one end of this building to the next, you're going to get exercise, all right? There's a lot of square footage in this building, and we have a lot of people that are really working hard to keep it looking well maintained. And I just want to tell you, I'll say this: I think where we're at right now, not that there's not stuff that needs to be done, but this facility is in excellent condition, well maintained. And I know I'm looking at many faces. On a night like this, you can always miss people, but a lot of you come in, you give of your time, you help fix things, you help keep things maintained. And I just want to thank you. We thank you for what you've done. But there's a lot of stuff that has happened in this facility that wasn't part of any of those pledges. And so tonight, my purpose is not. This is not a fundraising meal. It's not a fundraising banquet. I'm not bringing Gary in tonight to tell you great stories and build your faith. But I did want him back here because we're at that point. That's why I wanted him to speak this morning to you all. We're at that point where we just want to finish strong, and I want to stimulate your faith. I want to encourage you not to quit, not to lose sight of the goal. And how about this? I still believe, because we believe in a miraculous God. Amen. I still believe that God could do things exceedingly abundantly above and beyond what any of us could ask or think. Not only to bless you, I like what Gary said, generous hands are also hands that are able to receive from the Lord because your hands are open. Stingy hands don't receive. So my prayer is this, that your businesses continue to prosper in crazy ways. That God brings resources in crazy ways that are unexpected. But He just wants us to partner with Him. And I want to encourage us, let's keep doing that. I'm going to show you something next, and then I want to hear your heart. But I felt like the Lord said this: don't go into the year trying to get people excited about where you've already been. I mean, it's like this. Hey, guys, here's my vision for this year. Let's fulfill our pledges and pay off our mortgage. Isn't that exciting? No, that's not exciting. There's nothing exciting about that. That's the hard work part of ministry. That's the hard work of running your family. Guess what? Your mortgage has to get paid every month. There's nothing exciting about paying your mortgage. Trust me. Going on a shopping spree, now that's fun. But paying your mortgage is not fun. But guess what we do every month, right? We pay our mortgage. So guess what we do here? We pay and we honor God. And our goal is to get completely all this paid for out of debt. So I just want to keep believing God for supernatural, crazy, awesome stuff. Are you with me on that? I want to stay in faith, stay in joy, stay happy. But I also want to give some of you a chance just simply, we got the cards on the way in. And this card was not designed for midway, so just adjust it. But all I'm looking for is take this home. And I'm asking you this question. Would you pray this week? So we're at the halfway point. Pray this week. Lord, do you want to adjust what I'm doing? Some of you that haven't been involved, just ask the Lord, what can we do? How can we help? And listen to what He has to say. No pressure. All I'm asking you to do is pray and let's just obey God. But I would like to put a deadline on this by next Sunday just to say, hey, if you can get this back, just drop us in the offering plate next week. This is just a faith intention between you and the Lord. I want you to know I haven't called anybody up. I haven't called Ed up. Ed, I'm calling to check you on your I-54 campaign pledge. We don't do that here, right? It's not like this is, we're sending the mafia out to get your pledge from you or something like that. This is all between you and the Lord. I'm just encouraging you to engage and to be a part of the process and to ask the Lord what He would have you to do. All right. So here's what I want to do. Next, I want to show you an overview, all right, of our property. Now, how many of you know when they talk about a spine, the reason we talk about a spine, imagine if your body just had half of you with no spine. You had a leg dangling and an arm and half your head, all right? The purpose of the spine is to give you stability and to pull everything together. But it's still not done yet because a spine, you still need the other half of your body. Are you with me? We have 20 acres of land here. And we want to see, God, what do you want to do with this land? So I want you to kind of look at that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video in just a second that's going to take you through some of the things that we're dreaming of. And let me just share this. This is a dream. When I was talking with Dr. Gary, he helps churches raise funds. And this is what he said. Pastor, why don't you consider doing another 3-year campaign? And this is what I said to him. Over my dead body. And you know why I said that? Because I'm one of you. I'm living this out and we've made sacrifices. And so I just want to disarm all of you. We're not going to jump into another campaign, all right? We're not going to do that. But how many of you know dreaming doesn't cost anything? And so all I'm wanting you to do is to dream with me. My father used to teach men, and this is so good, men, listen up. If you didn't hear this, although you can probably finish the sentence. When your wife starts talking about remodeling your house and the new carpet and how she was reading a magazine and saw the new cabinets, she doesn't want you to shoot her down and tell her, we can't afford that. She just wants you to dream with her, all right? And say, that would be awesome. I can see it. Yes, I can see it. And you start dreaming with her because the purpose of that discussion is not that you're going to, break ground the next day. So here's what we're doing. I just want you to dream with me. The logical question on your mind is going to be, well, how much is that going to cost? I don't know. I'm just dreaming. I'm just dreaming. Because dreaming doesn't cost anything. But I do want us to dream. The reason we built the next room is for overflow because we want to keep growing and reaching more people. Amen? And it's ready to go. And some of you have been coming to first service. Our first service is getting more and more full every time. Our second service is at that place where people tell you when you get to be that size, you need to start thinking about something. Well, we already thought about it. That room is ready. And I'm excited when we have to start sending people into the fellowship hall and having a pastor in there that's helping people out and loving on people and have a whole ministry team in there. But that's coming. So I want you to notice, you see number 9 there. That's our existing building there, our spine. But the next building there to the left would simply be a sanctuary that would be the next size up. All right. We haven't done any designing of that, but it would be a sanctuary that would accommodate twice this much at least, probably 2.5 times this much, all right? And here's what I'm getting at with that. I believe God has given us some amazing relationships with people And the one thing that hinders us as far as doing some larger events is we just don't have the space here in this sanctuary to accommodate. We can't even accommodate if both services showed up at the same time. We wouldn't be able to get folks in here. So I have a vision that we're just going to continue to reach more people. How about you guys? Amen. So that's just saying that the purpose of that spine, and when you see those windows that are out there, that was all designed so that those windows could be removed. And that those windows would simply be a walking area into whatever God puts on the other side. Now, if you'll notice, too, on the back side there, that's actually a little bit smaller than was in my brain. But that back side is, here's the other issue. What would happen, say, over the next 4 to 5 years relating to our children's ministry and our nursery area? We might just need to have that thing continue to go out. And let me just tell you this, too. We're all scattered over this building as far as the staff. I would love to have all of our staff in one little area where we could actually, say hi during the day. That would be nice. Because right now, if I want to see Tracy, all right, I got to go to the other end of the universe, or Pastor Aaron. It's like a football field away on the other side of the building, just like to say hi. We'd love to have an office area where everybody could be together. Now, I want you to look up in the top corner, because that is the northwest corner of our property, which is the highest ground, and it's also the biggest eyesore. And it's also one of the biggest trafficked areas, because how many of you know Summit Street out here is really busy. And when you drive by that area, you see gravel, and you see a pole barn, and you see dead trees, and you see, if you look carefully, a playground area that's down in the lowest part of our ground. It's always wet, and it's like a swamp. It's great for mosquitoes, though. It keeps the kids away from the playground. You don't have to worry about losing them down there. But we have a low problem there, and that again is one of the highest visibility corners on the whole property. What was in my heart after Dad passed was that we would do something that really magnifies the marriage emphasis of this house, and use that high ground to create, and you're going to see it, but create a memorial garden. Those two circles are wedding bands. You'll find a cross, a beautiful cross in the center, and do something that simply honors people who have loved so well. See, so many marriages healed. But create an area out there that is just absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. And I'll show you, and as we're getting at it, have an outdoor wedding venue, an outdoor amphitheater, an outdoor place for worship. And wait till you see it. That where the number one is, it's a little peninsula out there, but a gathering place where people can stick around after church, between church and say marriage class, and have some lunch and sit by water, not a retention pond ditch. All right, that grows weeds. And anyway, we'll get to that in a moment. But wouldn't it be cool I'm just thinking, in the summertime for Celebrate Recovery to have their meeting outside in an outdoor amphitheater with a pavilion, or weddings, or youth group, or children's ministry, or whatever other things we're doing, an outdoor concert with our worship team. Whatever it is, outdoor worship in the summertime, who knows? But anyway, that's what that corner is. And then you see actually some water there. It looks like daisies with islands, okay? That's not it. That's all water, and those are fountains. Gotta have fountains, all right? How much are fountains, Pastor? I don't know. We're dreaming, all right? Just dreaming. And notice it doesn't cost any more to have two fountains, because we're not paying any bills. So we have two fountains, all right? Don't worry about it. God can handle it. So this has been our dream too, is we do a lot of encounter weekends and a lot of ministry, inner healing ministry. There's all kinds of stuff where it's great to have an intimate setting. We're going out every year. At the height of where we were at, we were doing 4 encounters a year for men and 4 encounters a year for women. I believe that whole aspect of our ministry is going to explode. And what we're constantly dealing with is, where do we have the retreats and getting the registration and all that kind of stuff. So if you can dream with me, where you see number 10, that is a retreat center back in that corner of our property. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And where you see, check this out, because we just got rid of our pole barn and everybody's worried about, I know Carrie's like, where's the tractor going to go? I know, I understand. And he's got all those tools in there. All right, well, here's the deal. Notice where the road cuts in between, just to the left of number 6. That's the Bashtas subdivision there. If someone could rescue me with a big wad of tape, my piece here keeps going everywhere. But that's what we want to cut into that road. And you can see right where that road bends, where that gray box is there. That would be like a brand new pole barn area to service all the property, all right? So we're looking at moving the pole barn there. But that road cuts in. It swings all the way around. And then you see 2 buildings there by number 8. What we'll be looking at doing is building like lodges that would accommodate marriage retreats, youth retreats. Some would be bunk style for like a youth event or something like that. Others would be designed for men and women going off at our encounter weekends, or couples. But those could all be built in phases and interlocking brick or walkways through all of that. And if you'll notice here where that road comes out, some of you might not know this, but between my neighbor just to the south and the next house down there, the gray house on our property, we own that land. And we purposely kept that land so that we could have an entrance on that side of the property. So notice the road goes from the back subdivision all the way around in front of the lodge, and then all the way out right over there and hits Pratt Street. So that, again, the idea though is all those walkways, areas to hang out. So let me just do this. We're going to take a trip right now through the front of our building and give you, and again, this is just conceptual. We haven't picked out the wallpaper yet, although we're not into wallpaper, although it might be into wallpaper by the time we get there, we don't know. But nothing's been designed, all right? We're just holding spaces, but I want you to see in advance what this might look like, okay? And dream with me and get excited with me, and let's believe God together. So let's go ahead and roll that video. There is no music, so it's not a sound problem. And there is one spelling problem, so don't worry about that. Okay, here we come up to, that would be a new sanctuary. There's lots of red flowers too. I'm not sure what they are, but I like them. There's what we just built. Now we're going in the foyer there, obviously. And now we've opened up that whole side over there for going into a new worship center. Now heading down the hallway, which just got a lot bigger because we took in the whole outside of our building. And then off to the left there is where we like either to do more children's area, office expansion, whatever. But check out what we did to the playground area. It's been resurrected from the lowest part of our property. And now we've got it on high ground. We're swinging around. You'll see the pole barn area, which will show up in just a second. There it is. That's our old pole barn to the back. But notice it's become an outdoor pavilion gazebo area. That might be a fun place to hang out after church. This is that low spot where the playground equipment currently is. We're going to use that slope of that hill and turn it into an outdoor amphitheater for outdoor weddings and, as we said, concerts. And using the slope of the grade there, go all the way up with a kind of a scallop, seating area. So you'd actually, it's kind of like the Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado, only a little smaller version is what I'm trying to get. That's the garden. The idea would be that would all be a paved walkway, and we'd encourage people to get involved in helping to support it with the individualized pavers that people can purchase with their names on and things like that. But we want to have a really nice outdoor pavilion where people can stay after church and fellowship and throw parties and all that kind of stuff. That would be something that would be that, again, the garden. Although the garden looks lame to me, I have a bigger vision for that garden than a few flowers like that. But the idea, we can area is to sit, to reflect, to pray, to fellowship, to remember Mom and Dad and their investment in this place. And how about this for wedding pictures, people? Some of you that have a vision for marriage down the road and looking over the fountain in the background, your wedding pictures, it's going to be beautiful. Nice little gazebo area there. How about one more fountain? That would be cool. How about one more fountain? Where is it at? I know it's coming. Maybe not there. All right, now that is a very ugly pole barn. We can do better than that, but that is an ugly pole barn, but it will be right there. And there's the road that takes us back to the lodges. This could all be built, of course, in phases as God provides. We don't have to do the whole thing, any of it at once. We can do it in phases, however God leads. Now we're doing the cut through the grass to check out the lodge over there in the back part. Can't you picture a nice big fireplace, place to cook food, big meeting rooms, comfortable place? That goes along the tree line back there. We have that pathway that would walk on the backside there, the tree line and the stream. A couple more of our lodges there for housing. I think when our missionaries come off the field, a place to stay, place on the grounds for some guest ministry when they come in and stay. But all of that, we can figure out what that would look like on the inside and what our needs are. There it is. How'd you like that little view? So here's my plea to all y'all is let's finish this year and a half really strong and believe God to do crazy, awesome things. And then we'll have a better idea about where things are at financially. And then let's just trust God to grow His church. This year, just to give you a quick overview, the next series we're moving in is going to really be an awesome series on discipleship and disciple making. Then followed up with understanding our spiritual gifts and activating people. And the last part of the year, focus on mobilization. Because here's the cool thing. If the church ever would get unleashed and we all get in the game, we all start loving people and using our gifts, I'm telling you there's no end to what God could do. And I just want us to keep our vision on where we're headed, not on where we've been. And keep realizing, like again, that all that plan could change. Just so you know, some of you might be thinking, well, what about this? And we need this. And all those thoughts are valid, and we want to hear them. That was just to give you something to picture. But wouldn't it be great if we could host, 4 or 5 events a year where people are coming on site to receive ministry and receive encouragement, and do it right here in this facility. And I'm just telling you this too. We've had so many opportunities when I could bring in some amazing people that we have friendships with. The problem is they only have so many weekends a year, which means they choose the largest venues that they can go to. And this is not a large venue as it relates to some of those kind of folks. And so again, I don't want to build a monstrosity of a sanctuary. I always want to have at least 2 services, right? And use our facility. In fact, some of you were just saying, some of our new folks were saying, man, the thing I love about this church is it's always a buzz with people. No matter what night of the week you come here, people are in this facility, using the facility, and we want to keep it that way. But I do get excited about the possibility of us being able to get more and more folks under the roof, enjoying God, and getting touched like we heard this morning. So let me put a comma right there. I think we've covered some good ground in an hour and a half. I do want to open it up for questions, comments, feedback that you might have about anything. And Ed's here to answer any specific details. Also have our elders here and pastors here. So any thoughts, feedback? You like what you see? I like the water. And I've always believed this, that sometimes, unfortunately, churches are some of the ugliest places you'll ever go to. And when I first walked on the grounds of Regent University out in Virginia Beach, the one thing that screamed at me was excellence. Not extravagance, just excellence, beauty, a place where people go, wow, what is that? Because it was just a beautiful, beautiful place to go. And I just picture that this is a place of peace. Living Stones is a place of healing. It's a place of restoration. It's a place where people get loved. And I can't imagine what it would be like to come on grounds where you just go, wow, I feel the beauty and the glory of the Lord on this place. So anyway, a good rough draft. What I told our builders, because we came in $360,000 under budget, which that's great news, all right, from what we originally planned for the whole project. But I said, hey, out of that money that we saved, can you put together something so we can see where we're going? I think that's so important. And let me just ask you guys this. What's your feedback? Am I hearing from God? You're not going to offend me if you say, no, you're not hearing from God. But am I hearing from God regarding some type of memorial in honor of the legacy that was left in this place? Amen. Yeah. Amen. I'll tell you something else. When we saw person after person come through the line that day, about 8 hours, 10 hours worth of people that said similar things, I realized, you know what, there's a lot of people that would be willing to invest, even in a small way, in making that dream come true. So I don't know, you're saying, well, when does all this happen? I don't have a clue. All we try to do is get a vision and dream. But now the thing is, as we walk this out together, just to be sensitive to the Lord on when we're going. But I just want to tell you all this. I get that there's can be a sense of weariness in our hearts as it relates to just being faithful and sacrificing. You can live in a season of sacrifice for a while. You don't want to make it a lifestyle because it can get wearying after a while and it gets dreary and tiring. And I get it. So I'm just telling you, when we get done with our 3-year commitment, here's what I want us to do together. I want to have a collective exhale. And you know what else I want to do? I want to eat. Kenny, Brian, all of our cooks, get together. Nate, get together. Let's eat, and let's celebrate and rejoice in what God's done. But let's never stop dreaming, and never believe that anything's too big for God to do. And so that kind of lays it out there for us, just to say, hey, where are we going to go and how are we going to get there? But until we see it, and I hope tonight we've seen it together, that sets us up for being able to taste it and begin to pursue it. So we'll walk through that together with the Lord's wisdom, and I know it'll turn out great. There's just a great sense of satisfaction when you walk in what you saw in idea form, and now you're walking on the brick and the mortar and the walls and the chairs, and I love the fact that we walk through that together. That is a faith builder, amen. It's a faith builder. And I just want to keep us aggressively moving ahead. So, any last questions? I appreciate your time tonight. I want to be sensitive to cutting you loose. If anybody has any questions about the nuances of budgeting or where money goes or what about this or what does that mean, please set up a meeting with Dick and Ed. They will walk you through all the details. We're very transparent with all that. And they can handle any questions you might have. Yeah, Ed. Yeah. The giving statements are in the back. If you can grab yours on the way out, it will save us some postage from mailing it to you. If you can just remember to stop back and pick it up. And again, thanks. I didn't honor Dick and Ed, but thank you guys. Dick Zabel would be here tonight. Dick Zabel has a very long driveway that he told me is very drifted over with snow, or else he would be here tonight. But why don't you stand to your feet? And even as we bathed this in prayer a year and a half ago, let's bathe it in prayer again, and let's believe God together. Lord, thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you for new life, for people getting born again, baptized, for Roar Schools launching. Lord, for our children's ministries bursting, youth ministries growing. Lord, our life groups loving on people. All that we covered tonight, there's so much life. And we know, Lord, that it's because of you. And so we just thank you, and we pray that what we do would honor you. We pray that we'd honor you with our vision, honor you with our resources, honor you with every part of our life. So Lord, even as we began this in grace, we're going to finish in the grace of God. We're not going to sweat. We're not going to freak out. We're not going to worry. We're not going to walk in anxiety or fear. We just want to stay in that grace zone where we simply hear you, we obey, and we watch you take care of us, because that's what you do. So Lord, we just declare over this house, surely goodness and mercy is going to follow us all the days of our life. We're going to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. But Lord, may your goodness and mercy overtake your people this year. And God, may it be a banner year of breakout and blessing and fruitfulness. And we just give you the glory and the honor for it in advance. In Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Amen. Hey, we got coffee out there for you. Feel free to hang out as long as you can. Thank you all.